Dressed in protective gear, the nurse opened the door. Seeing the boss with his eyes closed and in pain, I nearly cried. He was fine just yesterday, how could everything change overnight? I held his hand, choking on my words. Boss, it's Yinfeng here. Can you hear me? They say Hong Jia hurt you, but I don't believe it. Boss, please tell me what really happened. He said, Big brother is gone, Hong Jia is missing, and I'm all alone here in Hong Kong. What am I supposed to do? 3 minutes passed quickly before the nurse tapped on the glass, reminding me the time was up. After leaving the ward, the nurse handed me a form and a pen, asking me to help complete the admission paperwork for 2. As I filled it out, I noticed 2 uniformed policemen walking down the corridor, chatting as they went. Inspector Lee, this case should be just an ordinary assault. The hostel owner said those people were all mainland tourists. You're up for a promotion soon, and if this case isn't handled well, it could be bad for you. Better to follow the normal procedure and not blow it up. I want to believe that. The other officer shook his head. But there's something weird. The victim flew in 6 days ago. The woman who attacked him has no flight, long-distance bus, or ferry records. How exactly did she get here? As luck would have it, the hostel's surveillance was broken. A witness saw the attack. The woman's name is Chen Hong, an investigation notice has been issued. She can't have left Hong Kong. Hey, use your brain. If she could get in without anyone noticing, how could she not get out? Keep a close watch. They kept talking as they drew nearer, so I lowered my hat and quietly backed away. Outside the hospital, I thought, alone and helpless, with no friends locally. Finding Hong Jia and Big Brother seemed impossible. Their conversation reminded me that I had to focus on 2 things. The first was to raise money quickly. Tu's medical bill was over 40,000. I'd given most of the Shun funds to Li Jing, but I still needed about 20 to 40,000 more. Second was to review the surveillance footage. The police said the hostel cameras broke down last night, too much of a coincidence. There was definitely something fishy, and I was determined to get to the bottom of who was messing with me. No matter what, I wasn't going to stop until the truth came out. Around 5 or 6 in the evening, I headed straight for the China-Hong Kong ferry terminal. The Hongxing Fisheries boat hadn't left yet, so I found the captain, Old Hua. Little brother, what brings you here? Old Hua noticed my pale face and whispered, You guys got falling overboard, huh? Falling overboard was their slang for being targeted. If someone's got their eye on you, trouble follows. Old Hua worked for Hongxing Fisheries, which was connected to Yao Wenzhong. Yao was greedy. I'd suspected he was playing dirty, but now something didn't add up. Our 2 groups worked together. If Yao dared pull something, Old Hua wouldn't look at me like this, he'd have tried to kill me by now. I said I wanted to see his boss, the head of Hongxing Fisheries. Old Hua shook his head repeatedly, No way. I'm just a worker, I can't speak for the boss or take you to see him. You seem decent, but I advise you not to mess with the boss. Otherwise, you might wake up tied up and thrown into the sea, fed to the fish. I've seen plenty of cases like that. I looked him in the eye and took a deep breath. Old Hua, I'm not asking you to take me to meet him. Just help me pass along a message. What message? You say it this way, Xiang Yunfeng's not scared of dying. Even a mosquito bite causes a lump. If we can't settle this face to face, no one will have peace. Old Hua glared at me. You young folks don't listen to advice, reckless as hell. The tension broke when Old Hua's nephew, Duya, grabbed my arm. Uncle, don't be mad. Let me talk to Yunfeng. Duya pulled me into the crew's quarters. I like Duya close in age, something like a friend. He pulled out a cigarette. Want one? I shook my head. Don't smoke. You go ahead. Duya lit up, flicked his lighter on the table, smoke rising from his nostrils, and said, Don't bother asking uncle. If you really want to meet the Hongxing boss, I can help. Because that guy's actually here in Hong Kong right now. For real? The boss is actually here? What's his name? Duya flicked off the ash and smiled. Why would I lie? Couple days ago, the boss threw a dinner party looking for fresh giant king crabs. Uncle sent me to deliver the goods. I personally saw him with the driver. Then Duya added, Since I'm telling you something this important, you gotta tell me what happened to you guys. After weighing it, I trusted him and told the full story. Duya was dumbfounded, slapped his face repeatedly. Damn, Yunfeng, those 2 big wooden crates you loaded on the boat? They're full of antiques. Are you grave robbers or what? I gave a wry smile and nodded. And the Chen Hong you mentioned, the one who stabbed your big brother and fled with 5.5 million in cash and checks. Now your brother's in the hospital, and you're short by over 20,000, right? Yeah, Duya. I really don't know what to do. Then why worry? Just wait. He crouched down, rummaged under the bed for a few minutes, and pulled out a locked metal box. Opening it revealed stacks of cash. I'm lending this to you, Yinfeng. Remember to pay me back. Took me 2.5 years to save this much, and uncle doesn't even know about it. Looking at the money in the box, I felt deeply touched. We had only known each other for a few days, yet he was willing to lend me money, even including small change of 5 and 10 yuan. I counted it carefully, 27,650 yuan in total. I vowed to pay him back double. Borrowing 20,000 today, paying back 200,000 in the future. Before leaving, Duya gave me a piece of paper with an address, Building 11, Chengyuan Garden, Dun Street. He said the boss of Hongxing Fisheries might still be there, but because of his uncle's connections, he couldn't take me. I went to the hospital first to pay the admission fee, still half dazed. The doctor said he was old and the injury was severe, waking up would depend on some luck. All I could do was pray for his recovery. Chengyuan Garden is in one of Hong Kong's most expensive areas, a villa community home to celebrities and wealthy elites, with tight security. At first, I couldn't get in. Later, I found a way. I gave the garbage truck driver 100 yuan. The driver told the security guards I was a new worker, and I sneaked in following the garbage truck. The big iron gate of Villa 11 was closed, the lawn neatly trimmed, and the owner had built a luxurious doghouse where 2 black dogs were lazily lying. Before long, the door opened. A pretty girl of about 17 or 18 came out carrying a bowl of food. Her skin was fair, her hair tied in a ponytail, wearing designer clothes. As she stepped onto the lawn, the 2 dogs started barking non-stop. She took a bite of meat, spat out a bone, and said, "What are you barking at? I just fed you. Are you trying to get fat like pigs?" Just then, a middle-aged man came out of the house. He wore a black suit, had a buzz cut, and a scar over his left eye, looking a little over 40. He said, "Xiansheng, stop feeding them." The girl replied defiantly, "Dad, mind your own business. I'm feeding them." The man sighed, "Last time you spent 1.5 tons of rosewood building the doghouse, I didn't say anything. Then you installed GPS trackers because you were worried the dogs would get stolen. Daughter, who along the 1,000-mile coast would dare steal our dogs? Who's going to mess with the boss's daughter?" The girl stuck her tongue out. "Dad, come on. Last time I got Uncle Zhao to beat up Li Ziyang, why are you scared now?" The man glared. "Nonsense. Li Ziyang is your class teacher. Getting the driver to beat him up caused a big deal. Go home." "I'm not going. Not going." The girl slammed her bowl and stormed off. I wanted to follow her but was too late. "Hey, who are you? What are you doing hiding by my door?" The girl bumped into me. The middle-aged man stepped forward to protect her, his voice low. "Who are you?" Since I'd been found, I decided to be upfront. I took off my hat and looked at him. "Mr. Zhao Hongxing, hello, my name is Xiang Yunfeng." "Xiang Yunfeng?" He raised an eyebrow. "Get lost. I don't know you." I calmly said, "Mr. Zhao, you don't know me, but strictly speaking, I'm your boss." "Put." The girl burst out laughing, pointing at me. "You say you're my dad's boss? My dad owns over 100 boats. You're so young and you dare say that?" I didn't answer, just stared at Zhao Hongxing. Suddenly, Zhao's expression turned cold. "You're with Yao Wenjiang's crew, right? I didn't come looking for you, and yet you come to me?" Bold. Judging by his reaction, I guessed Yao Wenjiang used his boat but didn't pay. That money, 5.5 million, definitely didn't reach Yao Wenjiang. It was all with Hongjie, who was missing now. I said calmly, "Mr. Zhao, maybe you haven't heard. The money didn't arrive because something happened last night." "Xianxian, listen to me, come inside first." Zhao Hongxing clearly realized the seriousness. After the girl left, Zhao stepped forward, face icy. "Kid, tell me straight, how far has this gone? Are the police watching you? Has customs gotten involved?" I focused on the crucial points and explained. "So," he stared at me and asked, "your boss is in the hospital? The police are guarding him, waiting for him to wake up?" I nodded yes. "We came looking for him hoping to contact Yao Wenjiang through him." Zhao Hongxing paced for a few minutes, then stopped suddenly. "Yao Wenjiang is Yao Wenjiang. He's into tune raiding. If trouble comes, he can vanish into the mainland instantly. I'm different. My company's near the coast. If the boss wakes up and rats me out, I'm finished." "What do you plan to do then, Mr. Zhao?" I asked. He thought and said, "We go to the hospital and hide your boss. As long as he's hidden well, no one will get into trouble. But if he wakes up, things get complicated." I said the hospital was under watch and moving him would be difficult, plus he was seriously injured in the ICU, intubated, it would be like a death sentence. Zhao Hongxing said not to worry, he knew a very capable doctor. I followed Zhao Hongxing into the villa. Xian, go play upstairs. Dad has some work to discuss with this gentleman. The young girl, barefoot and leaning against the sofa with a face mask on, immediately sat up at the words, Dad, is this guy really your boss? Zhao Hongxing frowned and urged her to go upstairs quickly, threatening to send her to school if she didn't listen. Reluctantly, she went barefoot to the second floor. Boss Xiao, could you explain the exact procedure? I asked him, wanting to understand how he managed to quietly transfer the head. This was the central hospital with police on guard. Zhao Hongxing lit a cigar and took a deep drag. Money makes the world go round. As long as you have money, there's nothing you can't get done. Do you have money? Me? I quickly shook my head. No money. Alright then, Zhao Hongxing pointed at me. We'll talk about money after you get the head out. How much did your batch of antiques sell for? I thought to myself that even if I didn't say it, he could find out. So I spoke up, 5.5 million, via check. Zhao Hongxing's hand holding the cigar trembled slightly, he was clearly shaken. I knew he was saving the head partly to save himself. Kid, come closer. Here's what we're going to do tonight. At 11:30 p.m., an ambulance pulled up to the central hospital. Four masked medical staff got out. Where's the patient? Is the one needing transfer ready? A head nurse hurried over. You're from Yanghe Hospital, right? Sign here, the patient is ready. After signing, the head nurse made a call. Within 10 minutes, several nurses pushed a hospital bed out. On it lay a comatose elderly man in his 60s or 70s, the head. I tightened my mask, took over the bed from the nurse, and pushed it toward the exit. Wait, someone called from behind. What's wrong, officer? Two policemen quickly approached. The senior officer pointed at the bed. I checked with the duty chief doctor. The patient's condition suddenly worsened. He needs emergency surgery at Yanghe Hospital. Are you doctors from Yanghe? There were 4 of us. The lead doctor removed his mask, smiled, and showed his ID. Yes, I'm Lu Ziyuan, trauma surgeon at Yanghe. I'm responsible for monitoring vital signs during transfer. The ambulance is fully equipped. Unlike mainland China, Hong Kong's best doctors and equipment are mostly in private hospitals. Top doctors affiliate with private hospitals, making them more capable. Yanghe, Elizabeth, and St. Paul are the 3 major private hospitals. Many complex surgeries public hospitals can't handle get sent here. After verifying their IDs, the senior officer nodded. Thank you. We'll follow up. You may proceed. Patient's condition is critical, please make way. Once outside the hospital gates, the head was loaded into the ambulance. The ambulance siren blared as it pulled out. After crossing the traffic light, everyone inside the vehicle removed their masks. It was me, Zhao Hongxing, Lu Ziyuan, and Dong Rensen, the latter 2 real doctors from Yanghe. On the surface, everything seemed smooth, but a lot of work went on behind the scenes, and Zhao Hongxing spent heavily. During the day, Zhao Hongxing contacted a doctor at the central hospital who issued a critical patient notice, certifying the transfer to Yanghe. The doctor's identity was kept secret, and 160,000 Hong Kong dollars was paid to smooth the process. Lu Ziyuan and Dong Rensen were colleagues with a gambling problem. Owing debts from losses, Zhao Hongxing seized the chance to recruit them. The ambulance headed straight to Qingyuan Garden. Zhao Hongxing's driver had already arranged a corpse of similar age to the head. The vehicle also carried a full set of diving gear. The next day, the news reported, an ambulance from Yanghe Hospital crashed while returning, plunging off Jishui Gate Bridge into the South China Sea. Salvage operations were underway. Besides Yanghe doctors and nurses, a critical patient transferred from the central hospital was on board. After taking the money, Lu Ziyuan and Dong Rensen immediately left Hong Kong and vanished. As for salvaging the vehicle, it might be possible, but recovering the bodies was unlikely. Zhao Hongxing said even if the head was recovered, it would be useless by then, too late. This all sounded surreal. It took not only a lot of money but also luck. It wasn't feasible now, but back then in Hong Kong, if you had money, you could make it happen. The follow-up treatment of the head became a tough problem. Zhao Hongxing instructed me to stay hidden at his house and avoid being seen. He hired a team to treat the head at his villa. This private medical team charged a high fee and maintained strict confidentiality, still operating today. The team was led by someone surnamed Zhua. Zhao Hongxing said he was very skilled. Once, chatting with him, I asked if he knew about the Tianlin Pharmaceutical Research Division. He nodded. Of course I know. Everyone who does side jobs knows about Tianlin Pharmaceuticals. Their brain booster shots can extend the lives of cancer patients. One shot sells for 1 million yuan. The formula is basically a cash machine, making money every day. I asked again, so, brothers do you know the guy nicknamed doctor or teacher? I've heard of him but never met him. Pretty mysterious, he said and asked why I was asking. I just smiled and said it was nothing, just curious. Yesterday, when I got back to the hotel room, besides finding the severed head still there, I realized the room had been ransacked. My gut told me someone was looking for that bottle of medicine. I only told Li Zheng about it. That night, Li Zheng arranged to get me drunk. Anyone could have guessed who did it. That night, just as I was about to go back to my room to sleep, someone suddenly called from the second floor, "Hey, kid, want some instant noodles?" I looked up and saw Zhao Hongxing's daughter in her pajamas staring at me. I shook my head. She immediately blew up. "I want to eat. Hurry up and cook it for me. White Elephant brand, not Kangshifu. Don't add the oil packet, I'm afraid of getting fat. Cook exactly 3 minutes, not longer. I'm not her servant." I shouted upstairs, "If it's ready, will you carry it yourself?" She held the railing and called down, "Of course. You're staying at my place, so do you expect me to do it myself?" Zhao Hongxing spoiled her rotten. I thought she was more useless than a princess. I ignored her and was about to turn back to my room when she got anxious, loudly shouting, "Kid, you have to cook my noodles today. You grave robber." During those days living in Xingyuan Garden, that girl often mocked me, calling me a grave robber who deserved a bad end, saying I'd end up in jail. Her words were sharp and mean, all because of her dad. Right now, I pinned my hopes on Zhao Hongming, didn't dare argue with her, and certainly didn't dare lay a hand on her. I felt trapped. The head's wounds were gradually improving. The doctor said he might wake up soon. As long as there were no major issues, it would just be a matter of resting and recovering. That night, after 9, Zhao Hongming told me they'd found a lead involving Sister Hong. He said, "I haven't been idle these past few days. The hotel's surveillance footage from that night was deliberately destroyed. But following your idea, I found a crucial clue in front of the police." He showed me a clip, poor quality, burned onto a disc and played on a VCD player connected to the TV. In the hotel yard that night, there was a Citroën parked, and its dashcam had recorded the surveillance footage. The timestamp was 12:15 a.m. that night. On the screen, someone came out, it was Sister Hong. The yard was pitch black. She walked under the apple tree, looking up at the branches. The camera angle was bad, I couldn't see what was in the tree, and there was no sound. Sister Hong stared up for about 3 minutes. Suddenly, the image flickered and a bird appeared. Its eyes glowed green, exactly as the landlady described, super creepy. I jumped up, trembling as I pointed at the screen. I'd seen that bird before, a pure white owl that just landed on the apple tree. Sister Hong wasn't looking at the apple tree, she was staring at the owl, the woman, the one from the Changchun Society. They'd encountered similar situations before. Sister Hong said she swallowed a gold finger and was mentally controlled whenever she heard the bird's call. We'd forgotten about this after coming down from Fei Mountain. Sweat broke out on my forehead, my heart tightened painfully. If that woman really came to Hong Kong, then Xiao Lu might still be alive, only the cave had blown up. These people had followed us to Hong Kong. In other words, it was likely revenge from the Changchun Society. "Kid, what's wrong?" Zhao Hongming saw me restless and asked. I kept telling myself to stay calm. The more nervous I got, the worse it would be. Taking a deep breath, I said to Zhao Hongming, "I know who's behind all this." "Oh?" He raised an eyebrow. "Don't tell me you think that bird's the culprit?" I asked if he'd heard of the Changchun Society. He thought for a moment. "I know the Sanlian Society and the Xiaodao Society, but Changchun Society? Where's that from?" I explained that the Changchun Society was a faction from mainland China, rooted in the northeast, with many powerful people inside. The head's injury was their revenge against our group. Zhao Hongming crossed one leg over the other, drumming his fingers on the table as he pondered for a few minutes. He said, "Things are more complicated than I thought. I can help along the coast, but not inland. I don't want to get caught up in your grudges with the Changchun Society." I asked him, "So you're saying?" He said, "If the Changchun Society is really that formidable, helping you means making enemies. I love money, but I won't take that risk." This is the 104th segment out of 283. Please process the following content logically while preserving the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall formatting. Only return the processed text. Right now, I'm thinking of 2 options. 1, wait until your boss wakes up, and I'll arrange a boat to send you all back. You stay somewhere far away. I'll spend 700,000 to rescue your boss. Or 2, if you don't want to leave, I can keep you here for 3 days. After 3 days, whether your boss wakes or not, you have to go. You're not allowed to use my Hongxing name externally, got it? Those are the only 2 paths. Think it through. After saying that, he left. That night, I couldn't sleep, stayed up all night with insomnia. Patu was seriously injured in the head, Hong Jie and brother disappeared, the Changchun Gang was chasing us for revenge. This trip to Hong Kong yielded no profit, and the gang was falling apart fast. I had no choice but to accept Zhao Hongming's terms. The Changchun Gang would come knocking, and I couldn't fight them alone. It was hard enough to protect myself, let alone protect the boss. I had to choose to leave and find someone who could protect both me and the boss. Back then, Beggar Lu had said that if trouble came, I could seek his help at Zhao Wang Hotel in Handan, Hebei. I never forgot those words. I told Zhao Hongxing about my decision to leave, and he said no problem, he would help me arrange things quickly. Li Zhang and his teacher had been after that vial of medicine but never got it. That day after returning, I carefully didn't keep the medicine in my room, hiding it secretly with the newsstand owner. The day before leaving, the boss finally woke up. Though weak, he was clear-headed and could speak. I looked at him with red eyes and asked, "How do you feel? Was it Hong Jie who did this?" The boss leaned against his pillow, weakly. "Yinfeng, I know it wasn't Xiao Hong." "That's right. That person was from the Changchun Gang," I said. The boss closed his eyes, recalling, "Xiao Hong said she was holding onto the check first. That night I sensed something was off, but I never imagined it would come to this." Sigh. He asked what I planned to do next. I said I wanted to go to Handan to find Beggar Lu for help. The boss nodded. "That's our only option. Beggar Lu owes me a favor and is reliable. Arrange a meeting with Zhao, we have to thank him." "All right, boss, rest assured, I'll take care of it." After closing the door, the girl inside was fiddling with some artificial flowers. I asked, "Hey, where did your dad go? I need to talk to him." She didn't even turn around and said, "Who do you think you are? Why should I tell you?" "Forget it, good men don't pick fights with girls." Just then, Zhao Hongxing's driver, Li Bo, hurried in. "What's going on, Li Bo?" the girl asked. Li Bo's face was pale, panting heavily. "Come on, we gotta leave now. Your father's in trouble." Smash, the vase shattered, the girl's voice trembled. "Li Bo, what do you mean? What happened to my dad?" Li Bo wiped his sweat nervously. "The boat's already arranged. Take nothing, leave immediately. Mr. Zhao. He is dead." The sudden death of Zhao Hongxing, owner of Hongxing Fisheries, shocked everyone present, especially his daughter, Zhao Xianyuan. Zhao Xianyuan laughed. "Li Bo, have you been drinking? I just called my dad a moment ago, he reminded me to feed the dog." She laughed, then suddenly lost her balance. Driver Li Bo steadied her and tears streamed down his face. "Miss, I'm sorry. It's my fault I couldn't protect Mr. Zhao." The boss stayed calm and asked sharply, "What exactly happened? Tell me slowly. We can't panic in critical moments." Li Bo helped Zhao Xianyuan sit down. The girl's lips twitched, she was clearly frightened stiff. Li Bo said to the boss, "I checked, Mr. Zhao's car was fine, he hadn't been drinking, but I don't understand why he made a U-turn on the highway." "U-turn on the highway?" The boss narrowed his eyes. "So it was a car accident?" Li Bo nodded. "Yes, Mr. Zhao collided head-on with a heavy truck carrying steel coils and died instantly. I have confirmed the body but dare not let the miss see it, I'm afraid she won't hold up. The miss is still young. With Mr. Zhao's death, the other 3 shareholders will surely seize power. Hongxing is worth tens of millions, and the miss is the legal heir. I'm certain the other shareholders won't let her live. Until I get to the bottom of this, it's unsafe here." Li Bo pleaded with the boss, "I don't trust the people at Hongxing. Please help me get the miss out of Hong Kong. Please." "But," the boss frowned, "with such huge assets, why just abandon it all? After we leave, will you report to the police?" The old man shook his head. "We can't report it. Hongxing's connections are complicated, reporting it would involve big players and endanger the miss." I glanced at Zhao Xianyuan. She was muttering to herself, her lips trembling, her expression vacant. She wasn't safe with us, the Changchun Gang was still after us. But choosing the lesser evil, taking her out of Hong Kong meant at least temporary safety. Faced with invisible enemies, we can't fight head-on. To survive, we must flee by boat overnight. The boss was barely able to move, so Li Bo arranged a wheelchair. Before boarding, Zhao Xianyuan cried, clutching Li Bo's hand tightly, unwilling to let go. Uncle Li's eyes reddened. "Miss, don't worry. Once Hongxing is secure, I'll definitely bring you back. Your father died under mysterious circumstances, I can't let this go." From the accident to their escape, Zhao Zuansuan hadn't even seen her father's body. Under Uncle Li's urging, she followed me and the helmsman onto the boat. Old Captain Hua was a seasoned sailor. Seeing the boss's daughter's expression, he could tell something had happened. Without asking further, he ordered the crew to prepare to turn back. I pushed the wheelchair, standing alongside the helmsman on deck. Zhao Zuansuan gazed back at Uncle Li standing on the shore. The crew took their positions, the safety railings were raised, and with a whistle, the fishing boat set off. The sea breeze was cool. The helmsman kept coughing, clearly weak. Yinfeng. I'm here, old man. He tightened the blanket over his legs and asked, what do you make of Miss Zhao's situation? I glanced around to ensure no one was listening, then lowered my voice. Helmsman, I think the driver, Uncle Li, is suspicious. Oh? Why do you say that? I shook my head. I can't quite explain, but Zhao Hongxing's death feels too coincidental. Uncle Li was in a hurry to act, claiming to protect Zhao Zuansuan, yet he knew we were heading to hide out in Shandong. The helmsman chuckled. Not bad, you're getting smarter. Don't let the young lady find out about this. Uncle Li's right, we have to protect Zhao Zuansuan. After all, she's done us a favor. It's a matter of loyalty. The helmsman coughed once. Yinfeng, I'm getting old. You're brave and loyal, learning fast. Someday you'll take over from me. Maybe you'll even outdo Wang Xiansheng. I nodded silently, pushing the helmsman back toward the cabin. Since his legs gave him trouble, Old Hole arranged for the crew quarters. Zhao Zuansuan and I cramped into the engine room. Honestly, I worried about her fragile state, whether she might take drastic measures. In just one day, Zhao Zuansuan had gone from a privileged heiress with everything to a drifting, alone person. The shock was immense. She hadn't eaten or drunk anything all day. Fearing she wouldn't hold up, I went to the kitchen and cooked up a bowl of instant noodles. Stop crying, get up, eat something, I said, trying to hand her the noodles. I'm not eating. Don't block me. Suddenly, she snapped, shoving me away. Ouch. The hot soup splashed all over my pants. Zhao Zuansuan buried her face between her knees, sobbing sadly. I sat beside her. I know you're upset, but Xiang Yunfeng, have it even worse. My family was poor when I was young. Relatives looked down on me. I had no friends. Starting at 8, I carried water. By 10, I was already thinking about how to make money. She seemed to be listening. I continued, you look down on grave robbers, but that's because you've never been poor. For me, grave robbing is about money. I'm terrified of poverty. Life's short, either be poor forever or take a gamble. When people die, they return to dust, no one lives forever. Slowly, Zhao Zuansuan lifted her head. Her eyes were red from crying, her makeup was smeared. Finally, she said, I'm sorry for my dad. I always yelled at him, never listened, sob. She broke down again. After she calmed down, we talked for a long time. She told me there were 3 other major shareholders in the Hongxing company, who had fought alongside her father back in the day. Her father started from nothing, spending over 20 years building Hongxing into what it was now. They own more than 100 ships and several fishing gear stores. It was already late. She suddenly looked at me. Hongxing is what my dad left me. I want to take it back. That's the spirit. Finally, something useful you say. I smiled at her. You're not even 20 yet, right? She nodded. Just turned 18. I said, you're still young. You're no longer a young lady with money and connections, so it'll be hard to get things done. How about you come grave robbing with me? Think about it. Working with us means you'll get a share of the money. When you're rich, you can find helpers, and then reclaiming your dad's company will be much easier. Money brings connections, no money means no connections. The difference is huge. Wiping her tears, Zhao Zuansuan said, but I don't know how to do anything. Don't worry. You don't need to know how to dig or excavate. Stick with us, and at worst, you can be support staff. We're short-handed now, so there'll definitely be work for you. What exactly does support staff mean? She asked. Simply put, it means helping with equipment procurement and coordinating personnel. You'll learn the ropes with people contact slowly. Once we meet Big Sister Hong, she'll guide you. You're young, so you'll pick it up fast. Why do you keep staring at me? I'm serious, you're not going to trick me, right? Zhao Zuansuan suddenly nodded. Are you trying to take advantage of my dad's death to trick me into being your girlfriend? I almost burst out swearing. What do you take me for? I, Xiang Yunfeng, have some principles. But her words made me realize something. Our team is really short-handed right now. Big Sister Hong is missing, the boss is out of contact, second brother is in poor health, and third brother is injured and nursing second brother. Right now, I seem to be the only one functioning normally. This is Content Segment 106/283. Please see the following English translation, preserving the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout, adapted for American readers. I told Zhao Xianyuan to calm down and think it through, then I headed straight out of the engine room to find Duya. Duya lived in the four-peak cabin. When I walked in, he was shirtless, taking a shower. He shouted, "Yinfeng, don't you knock before coming in? Done showering? Get out quickly, I've got something to tell you." I tossed him a towel. He hurriedly dried off and pulled on his shorts. "Why aren't you sleeping at this hour? What do you want from me? Money? Need to borrow some for a couple days. No money to pay back." Cut to the chase. "Do you want to fish every day as a crewman or make big money and live it up?" "Make big money." "Alright, spill it." "How?" "Work with me." "To rob tombs with you?" "No way, I'm an only son." "No way my dad lets me go to jail." "You don't get it. We're legit pros. Out of 100 people, getting caught is bad luck. You've been at sea 2 years, only saved a few thousand? Stick with us, your cut won't be just that. Think it over." He lit a cigarette and mulled it over. After a few minutes he said, "I'll have to discuss it with my uncle." I asked, "Does your uncle agree to you tomb raiding?" "No idea. Let him weigh in." Half an hour later, Lao Hua frowned. "Young folks are bold. Duya is my nephew. I get that you want to make him rich, but I can't agree. As long as he stays with me, he's safe, he can get married and buy a house." I was stuck. Duya listens to Lao Hua, so the plan fell through. Lao Hua's boat hadn't returned to Shund, it was docked at Shenzhen Inner Bay Pier. Shenzhen's close to Hong Kong, his ship would arrive at night. My plan was to take a train from Shenzhen to Handan, 24 hours on the road. Just as I was about to leave, Duya came running up, gasping, his big bag on his back. I smiled. "Changed your mind?" He hugged my neck, laughing, "Thought it through last night. Yunfeng, you're right. A man's gotta make money and live large. I don't want to spend my life fishing on the boat with Uncle. You finally see the light. This is our big brother, Boss Wang." Duya respectfully bowed. "Hello, boss." Boss Wang shook his head helplessly. "Alright, kid. Since Yunfeng invited you in, I won't say more. Stick with us, watch, ask, and learn, okay?" "Got it." Zhao Xianyuan sized Duya up and said, "Have we met? You look so familiar." "Miss, you've got a great memory. A few days ago, I delivered the big claw to the boss's house and saw you. You were about to have your big black dog bite me." Zhao Xianyuan looked awkward, as if she remembered. At 5:30 p.m., a few of us boarded the green train headed for Handan. The train was old and the journey long. I could tell Miss Xiao, from a wealthy family, wasn't used to this. She'd grown up driving BMWs and Benzes, probably never taken such an ancient train before. That night, I was exhausted and ready to sleep, but Duya was full of energy, asking non-stop questions. "What does a Luoyang shovel look like? How do you use it? What if you encounter ghosts when tomb raiding? Is for real? I heard black donkey hooves can cure zombies, true?" Yawning, I said, "You'll know all that after a year or two of practice. Tomorrow's a long trip, get some rest." I'm beat. The green train rattled and clattered as I slowly drifted to sleep. That night, I had a dream. In it, Duya, Zhao Xianyuan, Boss Wang's sister Hongjie, and I entered a massive tomb. Inside, gold glittered, and treasures piled up everywhere. Duya wore a huge necklace of gold chains around his neck, an ancient golden crown on his head, 7 or 8 golden rings on his fingers, shouting, "We're rich! We're rich!" I rushed over, shouting, "Duya, save some for me. Why are you wearing it all?" Duya lay in a coffin, yelling, "No way. It's all mine." I jolted awake. Looking out the train window, dawn had already broken. Handan was once the capital of the state of Zhao. Learning to walk in Handan originated here. It was near Pengcheng, and in ancient times, the birthplace of Xizhou kills. Xizhou ware, famous for its white ground-carved plum bottles and ceramic pillows, attracted many antique collectors to Hebei. Many came to Handan, hoping to score a valuable Xizhou tiger pillow for a good price. The green train was slow. Back then, Handan had no high-speed rail, only the Handan West Station. We got off the train just after 10 p.m. Rooms to rent? Rooms to rent. Single rooms, doubles, hot water, charging plugs, only 30 yuan a night. Damingwei County, one more passenger and the train's leaving. Outside the station, innkeepers and unlicensed taxi drivers hustled for business. Duya yawned. "Yunfeng, let's find a place to stay tonight. We're strangers here, better not wander around at night." The inns by the station were grimy and messy. I didn't want to, but for everyone's sake, I gave in. I asked Zhao Xianyuan, "Miss, are you tired? Do you want to settle in first or keep looking for people?" She murmured weakly, "Duya was right, find a place to rest first," then acted dawn. "Alright, let's get some rest tonight, then." I waved at the woman who had just greeted us. She came running over and asked, "Young man, need a room?" With our group, we needed 3 rooms. The landlady asked for 120 yuan. Duyazi, used to roughing it, bargained hard. When the landlady caught sight of the boss's phone, her eyes lit up and she refused to lower the price. The phone was about OS 2000, retailing over 3,000 yuan, more expensive and more functional than the contemporary Nokia 8210, and advertised as the fighter jet of cell phones. It flipped open and had a built-in radio, unbeatable by others at the time. The woman was clearly taken by the phone and wouldn't budge. The boss didn't want to argue, waved his hand, and said, "Fine, that's the price." The lodging was a 3-story guesthouse, nothing fancy. I shared a room with Duyazi, the boss had his own, and Miss Zhao had one too. Zhao asked about bathing facilities, and the landlady said there was only a shared men's and women's bathroom. Zhao, having a strong sense of cleanliness, chose not to go. Around 11:30 p.m. After my shower, I passed through the hallway and noticed a noisy crowd of over 10 people on the 3rd floor. The red-haired girl at the front desk yawned. "It's the 16th today. The 3rd floor is hosting a bed exchange meeting. They're all antique dealers." The bed exchange meeting is a unique antique trade method dating back to the Qing dynasty. Traveling antique merchants gather at inns and use beds as a medium to exchange goods. Intrigued, I called Duyazi to join me upstairs. Nearly every room door was wide open. Sellers sat cross-legged on the floor playing cards, with porcelain, bronze Buddha statues, ancient scrolls, and other antiques displayed on beds. When buyers showed interest, they knocked 3 times on the door, fellow dealers knocked 4 times. Even though Duyazi didn't know antiques, he got really into it. At the end of the hall, an item caught my eye. The owner was a balding middle-aged man with a northwestern accent, giving off the vibe of a tomb raider. He carried a strong earthy aura, as if he had spent a lot of time crawling underground. When I entered the room, he said coldly, "Nothing missed." I smiled without replying and kept my gaze fixed on the item. On the bed laid some bedding, on top of which rested a roughly 30-centimeter square slab of bluestone carved in bas-relief with a 3-headed, 3-faced male Avalokiteshvara. The lower corner of the stone was chipped, showing traces of intricate ancient inscriptions. "Mind if I touch it, brother?" I asked, pointing at the stone carving. He said calmly, "Be gentle, it's an old piece." I nodded. This 3-headed, 3-faced Avalokiteshvara was unlike any I'd seen before. The front face was compassionate, the left face fierce like a Vajra guardian, and the right face serene. The fact that it was a male Avalokiteshvara made it especially rare. Judging by the stone's weathering, I initially dated it to the Song Yuan period. Clearly not a well-known relic, it likely came from some large tomb. "Brother, what's the price?" I asked. 28, he said flatly. Hearing that, Duyazi's eyes widened. "Damn, 28 yuan? This thing's worth it. I'll give you 30, don't look any further," as he reached for his wallet. I quickly stopped him and said with a smile, "New guy, don't rush. Brother, did this come from Ningxia or Inner Mongolia?" His expression changed abruptly. He stood up and closed the door. He handed me a cigarette and whispered, "You've got a good eye, brother. Where are you from?" Before I could answer, Duyazi spoke up, "Northern faction, Boss Wang, ever heard of him?" He paused, then asked me, "New recruit?" "Just arrived." "Don't laugh at him, brother," I said, nodding towards the door. "Meeting by chance, north or south, we might as well go downstairs, get to know each other, and maybe work together to make some money." "All right," he said while dressing, "I'm facing some problems on my current project. If you're interested, we can talk." I asked him to bring the stone carving to the boss, since I couldn't figure out its provenance. The boss had a sharp eye and might shed some light. On the 2nd floor, we met the boss. After introductions, the man took out the carving. The boss examined it carefully, wiping his hands repeatedly, then said after a long pause, "This is from the Western Xia Buddhist kingdom. I wasn't expecting it to be Western Xia." The boss spoke casually, but I felt a surge of excitement. Western Xia existed right at the Songyuan transition, which confirmed my initial dating guess. If this carving truly was Western Xia, it was extremely rare, almost never seen among civilians. The man with the Mediterranean-style hair introduced himself as Qin Xingping. He looked at the boss in amazement and said, "Old master, have you seen anything like this before?" The boss nodded. "I've seen one damaged piece somewhat similar to this." At that moment, Duyazi chimed in, "Western Xia? Isn't that the country of the villain Duan Yanqing from the TV show Demigods and Semi-Devils Who Walks with a Cane? This is segment 108/283. Please see the processed content below, with the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout preserved." I looked at Duya and said, "Yeah, you really know your stuff, it's the Western Xia dynasty. But that was just a TV drama." In reality, Western Xia and Dali were far apart, one up north and the other down south. Considering the national strength back then, Western Xiao wiping out Dali would have been a breeze. The drama was just made up. I then asked Qin Xingping, since we're in the same line of work, be straight with me, did this thing just come out of the ground, or has it been hidden away for a while? Apart from the royal tombs under Helan Mountain, I've never heard of any official Western Xia burial sites. Did you actually break into a Western Xia mausoleum? Qin Xingping laughed. You know quite a bit. This is kind of half fresh, it's been unearthed for a while. There are countless robbed tunnels in the Western Xia royal tombs under Helan Mountain, they've been picked clean long ago. I haven't seen a big tomb myself. I bought this piece from a Hute tribesman. He explained that the Hute are a small tribe living around the Helan Mountain desert. Though calling them minorities isn't quite right. China has 56 official ethnic groups, but beyond these, many small tribes exist with only dozens or hundreds of people not large enough to be recognized as ethnicities. For example, the Men people in the Bulang Mountains of Zhishuangbana, the Basha tribe in southern Guizhou, the Axi tribe in Yunnan, the Gaya reindeer tribe in Heilunbur, and others, just like the Hute tribe Qin Xingping mentioned. The Hute number about 200 or 300 and live in the deserts north of Helan Mountain. Using his phone, Qin got this stone carving in exchange from a young local man named Aji, who wore braided hair. The Hute live in the desert and have little contact with outsiders. Qin Xingping stumbled across the stone carving while traveling in Danba County. Aji didn't want money, he insisted on trading it for a phone. The phone wasn't worth much, so Qin immediately agreed to the exchange. But the more he looked at the piece back at his hotel, the more excited he got. If Aji could lead him to the source site, this could be huge. However, when he went back to find Aji, he couldn't locate him. After asking around, he learned that Aji and his tribe live in isolation, only coming to town every 3 months to buy supplies, and no one knew their exact whereabouts. I frowned and asked, do you think there could be a big tomb near where this stone carving was found? Qin Xingping smiled, the weathering on this piece is fresh. Anyone in the business can tell at a glance it's a fragment. I usually work alone, so running into you here in Handan today, that's fate. Nobody in this line of work goes solo. Boss, how about teaming up and sharing the ride? Sharing a ride means temporarily teaming up to work together, but insiders usually dislike it, they worry about safety and potential pitfalls. Still, exceptions exist, some partnerships even become friendships. Since Qin Xingping was flying solo trying to find the Western Xia tomb that the Hute spoke about, he knew he couldn't do it alone and proposed teaming up. It showed he was bold and had a bit of that underworld vibe. Boss laughed, if you've got navigation, fine, we can share a ride. But how are we splitting the car fare? Qin Xingping waved generously, get in first, pay later. You've got more people, just pay whatever you think is fair. Hearing that, boss turned to me, Yinfeng, what do you think? I thought it over and looked at him. I'm much younger than you, so I'll shamelessly call you Qinji. Qinji, I think this is doable, but now isn't the right time. First, boss's head injury isn't fully healed, so movement's limited. Second, I still have private matters to handle here in Handan. You want to carpool and find that tribe in Helan Mountain? Fine, but only after we sort out our business here. Exactly, no rush, we're not pressed for these next few days, Qin Xingping said, waving his hand. You've all met by now. I just arrived in Handan, so after the betting exchange event ends, we'll meet again and talk specifics. Boss and I exchanged glances and nodded. Sounds good. After swapping phone numbers, Qin Xingping left with the stone carving. Duya, who hadn't said a word before, now spoke eagerly, Yunfeng, boss, when are we going grave robbing and digging soil? I'm strong as an ox. Boss sighed. If only Xiaohong were here it'd be great. We don't have anything with us now, this is tough. At that moment, Zhao Xianyuan was sitting far off, trimming her nails. I pulled her over, boss, we don't know where Red Sister is. We can have her learn logistics, she's young and won't draw much attention. Zhao Xianyuan put away her nail clipper, looking a bit lost. Duya smiled and shook his head, the young miss doesn't have arms as strong as mine. I see her get dressed, and she needs help with everything. Besides spending money on feeding dogs, she can't do much. How can she help us with logistics? Zhao Xuanyuan's eyes reddened, looking rather pitiful. I pushed Duya to the side. You go stand over there. I turned to Zhao Xianyuan. Who's born good at everything? When I first started digging, I was scared stiff, I almost fell into the river. You're not little anymore. If you want to investigate your father's death back in Hong Kong someday, follow boss and learn well. Maybe you'll even do better than Red Sister. Zhao Xianyuan lowered her head and fell silent. That night, no one knew what she was thinking. Early the next morning, after checking out, the four of us set off for Jiaowan Hotel. Over 10 years ago, this was Handan's most luxurious hotel. Though it still stood, business wasn't what it used to be. This is content segment 109 out of 283. Please follow your internal logic to process the following material. Maintain the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout, and return only the processed result. Taking the bus from the train station took over an hour. I went to the front desk to ask if there was a guest named Lou and if they could notify him that someone was looking for him. The receptionist said they weren't allowed to disclose guest information proactively but could have the guest call. She shook her head, saying they couldn't reach the Lou beggar. I cautiously mentioned the words Changchun Society, and the receptionist's expression changed immediately. She quickly offered to help look into it. At that time, the front desk wasn't computerized, everything was recorded in a thick handwritten ledger book with no network connection. She flipped through it for a few minutes and said, "Mr. Liu has an annual pass and stays in room 406, but he's probably not here now. Every morning at 5:30, he goes to South Ming River Park to exercise. He might be back by noon or might be gone all day." Thanking her, we headed to the park to find beggar Liu. This time we found him not practicing martial arts but sitting on a bench in the small square beside the ticket office on the north side. He was ragged, with a battered enamel tea bowl by his feet filled with scattered loose change. He dozed off, hands tucked inside his sleeves. He definitely had money on him, otherwise, he couldn't afford the annual pass. I couldn't understand why he was so shabbily dressed and still begging. Later on, the informant revealed the reason. In 1992, they made a movie called King of Beggars Su Chier, a comedy that almost no one knew was based on a real person. Beggar Liu's real name was Liu Changsheng. His great-grandfather had topped the imperial military examination in the 19th year of Emperor Qianlong's reign, that is, he was the martial champion. The difficulty back then was much higher than today's civil service exams. The exam had 3 parts: horseback archery, martial skills, and a literary test. The martial part included bow drawing, saber dancing, and weightlifting, each divided into 3 levels. The bows weighed 80, 100, and 120 kilograms respectively, and the standards were strict. Liu's great-grandfather ranked first in all 3 categories, setting a record by lifting 320 kilograms. Passing that essentially crowned him the martial champion. The literary test was a mere formality, but since he was illiterate and hot-tempered, he thought the examiners were unfair and kicked one, causing a concussion. He was arrested and jailed for 2 years. Online records don't show him as the martial champion. Actually, Gu Lin held the top military title in the 19th year of Qianlong. Liu's great-grandfather had moved from second place to first only because he injured his opponent. The family of the injured examiner was powerful and retaliated by having Liu's legs broken in prison. When released, he was crippled. Though still skilled, his disability forced him into begging, and the family fell on hard times. The turning point came in Qianlong's 24th year, when the emperor was 49 and loved traveling south for leisure and romance. In the 12th lunar month, disguised on a journey, the emperor was ambushed by bandits and in grave danger. Suddenly, a ragged, lame middle-aged beggar appeared. With superb martial skills, he swiftly defeated the bandits and saved the emperor. Qianlong was immensely grateful and said, "You've saved the imperial life, tell me what reward you want." Expecting a demand for gold or an official title, the beggar surprised him, saying, "Your Majesty, I only want a gold rice bowl to use when begging." The emperor laughed heartily and immediately gave him a pure gold rice bowl. With this bowl, he became an imperially sanctioned beggar. No prince, noble, or local landlord dared to refuse him alms. He was so pleased it was like seeing a dragon resurrected. In his later years, he even set a family rule that Liu's descendants should continue begging as their profession. After hearing all this from the informant, I couldn't help but marvel that a beggar so skilled with money and martial arts was indeed from noble lineage. Wearing an imperial gold bowl, he became king of the beggars. The informant pushed his wheelchair over and coughed twice. Beggar Liu squinted as soon as he saw us and instantly woke up. "Wang Xiansheng? You startled me, you got here much faster than I expected." He glanced at Duya and Zhao Shenyuan, then asked the informant, "Who are these 2 kids?" The informant replied, "Master Liu, sorry, these 2 are new members we recruited." "Oh?" Beggar Liu looked Duya over, then asked, "And what about the girl and that younger brother?" The informant's expression darkened. "That's exactly why we're looking for you, Master Liu. This wheelchair I'm in is from retaliation by the Changchun Society. Xiaohong and Sun Da are both missing now." Beggar Liu put away his begging tea bowl, his face grim. "Looks like the little braids aren't dead after all. Those people have escaped. The coast is the Changchun Society's weak spot. You've all been targeted there, the situation is far worse than I thought." He paused, then reached out and said, "Xiansheng, as an old friend, I have 2 pieces of advice for you. First, I'll try to find out what exactly the Changchun Society wants from you. I'm not afraid of them, and they dare not touch me. You can stay in Handan, I'll protect you all, but solving the root problem is up to you. At best, I'm just a middleman. Second, you either accept it or fight to the end. The Changchun society isn't the same as it was 50 years ago. Most of those who left in 88 are still around. Joining them, banding together, is better than fighting alone. Beggar Lu's words made the informant nod in agreement. This is segment 110 of 283. Please see the processed content below, keeping the original paragraph structure, line breaks, and overall layout intact. I bowed to Beggar Lu and said, Master Lu, Little Q is ruthless and has repeatedly persecuted us. After the Hongjie incident, there's no room for reconciliation with the Changchun Gang. So we chose the second option. I, Xiang Yunfeng, am young and not very strong, but this line of work is the most profitable. Joining them means we can provide financial support in exchange for security. Beggar Lu laughed heartily. Good. You guys are like timely rain, like Song Jiang. They are short on cash now. I'll help arrange the connection. At that moment, the boss cautiously asked, Master Lu, among those who left in 88, are there any with the surname Zhao? Beggar Lu nodded, exactly. Ms. Zhao Qingwan, the 31st descendant of the martial aristocrat Zhao Can, is among them. Seeing the boss's excited expression, he waved his hand and said, besides the martial aristocrat's descendants, many others support you. As long as they step up, those old bastards from the Changchun Gang won't dare touch you. Afterwards, we stayed at the Zhaowan Hotel. The group that left in 88, mentioned by Beggar Lu, remains something of a mystery. He helped us inquire, and the news was, to join, an initiation fee of 200,000 yuan was required just to get an audience. I felt they were a bit money-hungry. We were drained after returning from Hong Kong Island. 200,000 was no small sum. The boss shook his head and said, I'd be suspicious if getting backing cost nothing. Yinfeng, do the math, a life is only a few 10,000s, it's worth it. I can put up 250,000 yuan, 200,000 for the initiation fee, 50,000 for operational expenses. That's how, with Lu as the intermediary, 3 days later we met their representatives at the hotel. That day, 2 middle-aged men dressed in blue sky rescue uniforms arrived. The boss talked privately with them. I didn't know what was discussed, but when they left, one carried a black plastic bag. Back in the room, the boss told me, they agreed to help out as a favor to Master Lu. Soon word will spread on the street. Once the Changchun Gang knows we have ties with Ms. Zhao, they probably won't bother us anytime soon. I asked, puzzled, boss, what kind of background does Zhao Qingwan have? How does she wield such influence on the street? The boss laughed, have you heard of the Beijing Puppet Theater? I said, the one near Anjin Bridge on the 3rd Ring Road? He said, exactly. That's just a small part of the Zhao family's business. I also asked them to help track down news about Xiaohong. They'll notify me if there's anything. I was stunned for a moment. That person's background must be huge. The boss said many hadn't heard of the puppet theater, but everyone knew the Peace Hotel. I understood a little but said no more. In the past few days the boss's injuries improved, he was able to walk with a walker. Next up, buying gear. Zhao Xianyuan was young and unaware of many things. We planned to buy all sorts of equipment, whirlwind shovels, food, purified water, sleeping bags, flying tiger claws, fishing nets, compasses, destined for Helan Mountain, a harsh desert environment with tough terrain. The boss and I agreed to buy a durable used car for ourselves. Back then, the used car market was chaotic, overpriced, and opaque, with no reliable third-party inspections. Few buyers knew their stuff, and outsiders were easily ripped off. Popular northern models included Alto, Tianjin Xiaoli, Hyundai Sonata, Jeep Cherokee, Model 212, and Mitsubishi Leopards. Since we had many people and a lot of cargo, only an SUV would do. We finally chose the 212 Cherokee. In Handan, a local dealer named Lu sold us a used Cherokee for 48,000 yuan. He confidently promised, bro, this car's a bit old, but the chassis is solid, gas tank's big. I came recommended by people we know. Don't worry, it's a good deal. While buying gear, Zhao Xianyuan haggled with the shop owner nonstop, so much so that the owner's face turned red and he started cursing at her for being so difficult. After settling everything, that night we invited Qin Xingping to dinner and finalized our departure route. Starting from Handan, first into Shaanxi, then taking the national highway onto the Jinglan Expressway into Yinchuan, and then heading to Danba County. Qin Xingping knew the route well, we weren't worried about getting lost. Around 5 p.m. we thanked Beggar Lu and set off toward Danba County near Helan Mountain. As we left, Lu said, youth is truly a blessing. If I were 20 years younger, I might just go along with you. Now I'm old. Every day I read the newspaper, beg, play chess, and that's it. The boss lowered the window, saluted with a fist, and smiled, "Farewell, Master Lu." Lu waved and said, "Go ahead." 2 days later. "Holy crap, Yunfeng, look at those clouds!" Duyazi shouted excitedly, pressing against the window on the national highway near Yinchuan. The car was driving on a high-altitude national road. In the distance, the fiery clouds stretched spectacularly across the sky. Qin Xingping chuckled, "That's nothing. I once saw a mirage fisherman casting nets in the sky. It was both magnificent and eerie." "This again? I've seen them at sea, nothing special," Duyazi sneered. "I even rode a whale once." "Get lost," I laughed and teased him. "Stop bragging." At that moment, Bato asked, "Old Qin, how much longer until we arrive?" Qin Xingping glanced at the sky. "The highway is fine, but once we turn inward, the road gets rough. Up ahead is Yongning County. I have a friend who runs a restaurant there. We'll top off the fuel, stay overnight at his place, and gather some news about the Hu tribe." Bata looked out the car window. "It gets cold at night here, campsites aren't safe. Let's just follow old Qin's plan." He nodded in agreement. Yongning is known for a distinctive Hui Muslim dish called nianzhuan. It's made by placing barley heads into a special small bag and repeatedly shaking it to remove husks and impurities. Then it's roasted and ground on a stone mill into green noodle-like powder. Qin's friend, Mr. Wang, is in his 50s, bald, slightly stout, and runs a small restaurant specializing in nianzhuan in the county town. Both he and his wife are warm-hearted Hui people. That evening, after closing the restaurant, Mr. Wang and his wife laid out a table full of local specialties: stewed lamb offal, stir-fried sheep necks, hand-kneaded yen-mian noodles, and dumplings in broth. After several rounds of drinks, Mr. Wang raised his glass. "Our town's small, so if our hospitality falls short, old friends, please forgive." Qin also lifted his glass. 7 years since we last met. No need for words, the wine says it all. Batu and I raised our glasses too. After clinking, we drank in one gulp. Mr. Wang popped a peanut into his mouth and asked, "I heard you deal in antiques. After all these years, made a fortune?" Qin chuckled. "No big money, just a little profit. By the way, old friend, any legends from the Helan Mountains?" "Legends?" Mr. Wang paused, chopsticks in hand. "There are plenty, I could talk for days. What kind do you want to hear?" Qin poured himself some wine and nodded toward the floor with his chopsticks. Though Mr. Wang is a cook, he's shrewd. Qin's subtle gesture made him nod in understanding. Mr. Wang lowered his voice. "Old friend, there's a story that's passed down for centuries. Many believe it, many don't. I'll tell you, but take it as a tale, nothing more. The story is called The Black General Burns the City and Buries Treasure, set in the Western Xia era, at a place called Halahat. Halahat isn't on modern maps. The name comes from Old Hui language meaning black water or pitch-dark water. Another name is Black Water City. According to Mr. Wang, Black Water City once sat on the ancient Silk Road, deep in the Helan Mountains. When Genghis Khan led his army across the Yellow River for the 6th time, commanding over 200,000 troops, he besieged the Western Xia capital, Changchun Prefecture, for 3 months. Inside the city, food and soldiers were scarce. The troops were so thin they looked like ghosts. The only option was to wait for death. The legend says Genghis Khan didn't attack the city walls directly because he feared the Western Xia's Iron Sparrow cavalry, a woman's troop. Sounds strange. Was he afraid of women warriors? There are 2 versions of the Iron Sparrow legend. One says all Iron Sparrow soldiers were women, for horses tethered together with iron chains, each ridden by a woman soldier who coordinated perfectly. They were tremendously powerful. Genghis Khan was defeated by them 5 times before. This 6th siege was his final attempt. He couldn't risk losing, so he used a siege to starve them out. The female commander was in her 40s, with dark skin, a mole above her right eye, famed for wielding a 70-pound horse-cleaving saber that could chop off horse heads. The Mongols called her the Black General. This is the first version. The second, more mysterious version says the Iron Sparrows were actually reanimated corpses. Since corpses can't ride horses, they were chained to 4 horses with iron chains to keep them from running off. The reanimator was Western Xia's national master, nicknamed July Crawler, though no one knew why. Iron Sparrows felt no pain, blades and arrows had no effect. That's why the Mongols kept losing. Mongol forces starved out Xingqing Prefecture, while the Iron Sparrows were stationed at Halahat. The Black General, seeing defeat was inevitable, released all the civilians, gathered treasures, and secretly buried them. She ordered the Iron Sparrows to trample over the burial mound, then set Black Water City ablaze, leaving Genghis Khan only a burnt-out city. When he finished the story, Mr. Wang smiled. Everyone around Helan hears the Black General tale. Halahat's long buried beneath yellow sands. Even if it's true, the Tanger Desert and Helan Mountains border the Yalksa Desert, full of sand and stones, good luck finding it in hundreds of years. Seeing Qin's lack of enthusiasm, Mr. Wang added, Old Qin, no offense, but don't be naive about getting rich. Others have tried before you. It's best not to bother. Qin changed the topic. Let's forget that for now. I'm here mainly to find the Hute tribe. Do you know how? The Hute? Mr. Wang frowned. They live in the desert. People in town rarely see them in a year. I can't help much. But you might try the Intian Agricultural Market in Helan County. The boss's daughter works as a reporter at Yinchuan Daily. She reportedly interviewed the Hute leader. You should ask her. All right, here, Qin said, pulling out 200 yuan. What are you doing? Old Wang snapped angrily. Don't treat me like anything less than a brother. Don't give me the money, put it away. If you give me more, I'll get mad. After we ate and drank our fill, we stayed overnight. Zhao Xianshen, who loved cleanliness, borrowed the shower from someone to bathe, and old Wang's Hui wife even gifted her a small vest traditionally worn by Hui women. At dawn, we got up early, said goodbye to old Wang's family, and drove to Helan County. Once in town, the team split up. Old Qin took Zhao Xianshen to the repair shop because the car had a minor issue. Duyazi and I went to the farmer's market. The team leader said he'd come pick us up after fixing the car. At Intian Farmer's Market, I asked the meat vendor about the man old Wang mentioned. At first, the vendor ignored me, but after I bought 2 pounds of beef, his attitude changed. You're looking for old Gon, right? He sells dry goods at stall 43 in the West District. He has a very noticeable scar on his forehead, he said. Carrying the meat, I wandered around when Duyazi suddenly pulled me, signaling to look east. There was a dry goods shop there piled high with white fungus and dried mushrooms. A middle-aged man with a scar was sitting and reading a newspaper. Duyazi and I approached. Uncle Gon, hello. I brought you 2 pounds of beef, I said with a smile, setting down the meat. He lowered his paper, looking puzzled. Who are you? A colleague of your daughter, here about some work. You're from the newspaper too? I lied. Xiaoxian just said she'll bring some friends home for lunch. Since you have meat, don't rush off, stay and eat. Duyazi whispered to me, Yinfeng, what if her daughter asks and we get caught lying about being from the newspaper? I reassured him, if we don't say that, she'll get suspicious. Trust me. Old Gon's youngest daughter came home around 11:30, bringing along a short-haired girl. She was slim, in her 20s, wore glasses, and was quite pretty. Dad, I'm back. I'm heading to the breeding base for an interview this afternoon. I brought a colleague here for lunch. What's for lunch? Potatoes stewed with meat. Your colleague brought the meat. My colleague? Only then did she notice me and Duyazi. You two are. Hello, I'm Xiang Yunfeng. Hi, I'm Do, no, call me Lu Ziming. We had lunch at the dry goods shop with old Gon and his glasses-wearing youngest daughter, Gon Xian. She had just graduated and worked at a magazine in Yinchuan but hadn't been officially hired yet. Eager to prove herself, she had braved difficulties to interview the chief of the Hutuer people. Thanks to that success, she was likely to transition into a government position with a formal post in the near future. Why did youth geography come to Yinchuan without notice? Where's your interview vehicle? Gon Xian set down her chopsticks and asked. I was prepared and lied, our magazine is short-staffed lately. The editorial department wants to do a series starring ancient Western Xia history. She frowned. This is a history specialty, why would you bring me, a journalism graduate? Wouldn't it make more sense to consult the Western Xia historians at the Ningxia Museum? I nodded. You're right, Gon. But our main readers are teenagers, so the story needs to be interesting and legendary. We heard you once interviewed the Hutuer chief deep in the desert. As a fellow journalist, could you give us some guidance? We'd credit you. The mention of a byline caught her attention, the fame of National Geographic and the byline were appealing. She didn't ask for credentials and smiled, nodding. I've gathered some materials. How about we meet this afternoon at Little Brew Cafe? I of course agreed. Little Brew Cafe was quite popular. Since locals still rarely drank coffee, its patrons were mostly bohemians. Starbucks had only just opened its 7th shop and hadn't yet saturated Yinchuan. Gon Xian asked me and Duyazi, sugar and milk or creamer? I hadn't drunk coffee before but tried to act knowledgeable, saying, no, I like it black. Duyazi followed suit, black for me too. She nodded and called the waiter to place our order. The coffee was bitter, like an espresso, unbearably so, worse than any herbal brew, and I hadn't even added sugar yet. Duyazi took a sip, immediately set down the cup, and looked grim. Gon Xian was puzzled. What's wrong? Duyazi put on a brave face. The coffee's great, very authentic. When we got down to business, Gan Xian pulled out an envelope from her bag and opened it. Inside were photos. The people in the pictures wore a mix of grass and animal skins, their faces painted white, clearly uncomfortable in front of the camera. I asked, "Are these the Hu tour? Where were they taken?" She replied, "Yes, last year in the desert." The Hu tour don't have a fixed home. When sandstorms come, they move deeper into the desert. We were lucky to find them that time. The water was almost gone. Duyazi stirred his coffee, pretending casually, "What if we asked you to guide us?" The reporter Gon smiled. "Normally, I could, but not now. I just started covering the Helan Mountain breeding base, so I don't have time to accompany you. Even if you invited me, it might not work out. I'll introduce someone, you can go find him." She wrote down an address, Ishi Camel Team, Shangguanmin. "Look for someone named Shang. He has experienced guides in his camel team. If I finish my work in time, maybe I can join you." After leaving the cafe, Duya and I headed back to the farmer's market, where Tu and Old Qin were already waiting. Shang Guanmin is a well-known figure in Yinchuan, the first to turn camel breeding into a big business. Camel milk sells for dozens of times the price of cow milk, camel hides are valuable, and camel humps are sold to upscale hotels. Later, they developed tourism. Tourists riding camels also bring in money. We went to see Shang Guanmin under the name of Youth Geography magazine. Gon had already given him a heads up, and he was very warm and welcoming. When we met, Tu straightforwardly stated our purpose. "Mr. Shang, we want to find an experienced guide to take us into the desert to find the Hu tribe." Shang Guanmin said, "No problem," then called to an employee nearby, "Xiaozhou, bring Lao Zhang here." A few minutes later, two men came in. One wore a leather vest. Though older, he was solidly built. "Lao Zhang, let me introduce." Shang smiled and pointed at me. "These are from the Youth Geography magazine at the newspaper. They want you to be their guide, and I've approved it." "Lao Zhang, don't worry, the pay will be doubled for these days. After this, I'll give you 3 days off to spend with your wife and kids."